Welcome to the Love Where You Live podcast, where we have conversations about why it's awesome to live in Boulder County. And today, I'm very excited. This has been a long time coming. I think for us, 4 months, I think is when we first met in April or May. I am here with my friend Soha, and I want to say Kushitama.
Yeah, you got it.
I got it right?
Wow.
Okay.
Nice job.
Soha Kushitama, welcome to our podcast studio here at my house. Thank you so much for coming.
Michael, it is really special to be here. I love this community and I love how we met. And I'm looking forward to continuing to connect. I call it constellations. When I was driving here, you asked me to be prepared a little bit for the questions. And I thought, where do I go in Boulder? And I was like, those are my constellations. And I love when we can cross and make a bigger multiverse within our community.
That's awesome. That's good. Yeah, it's a good visual. So it's really true. We do connect, we do cross over like that, and we do kind of intermingle. And I will reference what is awesome to me is you're the first person that we had just a straight reach out recommendation. Like Catherine said, you have to have Soha on the show. You were the first person she thought of, and she said, may I please connect you? And that's cool.
It's special because I feel like when we do our internal work, we reflect that in our external, and you align with the people you're meant to align with. It's like the student appears when the teacher is ready, and the teacher appears when the student's ready.
There you go. People have got to be curious, totally curious. We're dropping out a little bitty hints, but so this was the intro I had to you. So I'll share it to the folks watching and listening, but I want you to intro yourself in a more proper form. I'll say this is what Catherine said. She said she's got this amazing treatment that she gives, but if you want to know anything about her, go to freedomtofly.com or .org.
freedomtoflyforall.org, and it's the number 2 and the number 4.
So freedom to fly for all. But she said, check this out. And then you and I jumped on the phone, and this is the real intro, meditation, mountain biking, and martial arts.
And medicine.
Oh, and medicine.
But meditation is absolutely on the website. I'm just
messing it all up.
No, it's a lot of M's.
Yeah, okay.
Watch out, M&Ms.
Okay. So with that, just if you were going to give me the sort of real quick, like you did when we spoke, the elevator pitch, the hi, this is what I do, who I am, in a quickie or in a long one.
We love to inspire health. And so one of the best ways we believe we can promote balance and health on the planet is to heal ourselves.
Okay.
And so our foundation, Freedom to Fly for All, combines mountain biking, martial arts, and medicine.
There you go. Thank you.
And all of the overlap, the Venn diagram kind of blends when, let's say, we do a free mountain bike clinic.
Okay.
And then we're leading people in a longevity movement that is thousands of years old from Shaolin monks. And we'll do like a health wrench and ride at one of the local bike shops like Trek Broomfield or Boulder. They are a great sponsor of ours. And we teach about the circadian clock.
Okay.
Like we bring in health where we all kind of know as athletes is essential.
Yes.
But we want to deepen that connection of what that translates. And then for you, I asked you to come in for a therapy session. And that's what the original medicine, Freedom to Fly for All, wasn't Freedom to Fly for All. 14 years ago, my husband and I both studied Chinese medicine.
Okay.
And my original training was neuromuscular therapy. And I just felt an aversion to needles. Some people's constitution doesn't seem to respond as well. That's my husband, he is a herbalist, a nutritionist, an amazing chef. So I'm just a glorified cleaning lady. The body. And I really say that from a sincere place because really your system is what heals.
Right.
You have the wisdom. I just degunk what collects and congests the system to naturally flow and support the healing process.
That's awesome. So to me, hopefully folks are here with me on that's a bit of a hook because you said that and I have to know more. But as we do, we're going to hit the pause button.
Beautiful.
Not the pause like from Rocco here who's joined us. But we're going to hit the pause, P-A-U-S-E. And the reason is I want to kind of bring us up to speed with who you are and what brought you here. So let's just start with this. If we can I ask this question?
Of course.
You where did you grow up? And what was it like when you grew up? What were you doing? What was it like to be a young Soha?
Well, I climbed trees and fell out of them. And I was running and chasing my brother. So we grew up in the Pine Barrens when I was itty bitty. And I'll never forget, he left me. He lost me with his buddies. And here I am. And there's this turtle the size of this space that we're sitting in emerges from the murky pond of the Pine Barrens. It looks at me. I look at it. There's like wild turkeys in the trees. And then it goes back down. So that's one of my...
And you're in the water.
No, you're in
just
the forest,
okay.
Like with the moss
Amazing.
and the Pine Barren energy. And so that was my first teacher for sure, is nature. Yeah. My father, he is a retired colonel.
Okay.
Most people military, they move every 4 years, but my mom is also an educator. And so he went full-time Air National Guard, but you can picture me going to the air base and climbing up the tower, and there's rattlesnakes. It was all very wild. And because my mother's father, who was a doctor, he was a very influential part of Hawaiian sports. He actually brought the women's track and field. He started the marathon out in Hawaii. So I have a pretty cool lineage with my grandfather, Dr. Yu. I was kind of pushed into sports.
And so where are we? Where's the Pine Barren?
That's Jersey.
So that's whereabouts in New Jersey?
It's southern Jersey.
Southern Jersey.
And
good spot.
Because mom is so about education, she's like, I want my kids to have more diversity. My mother's Korean, my father's Caucasian. So she wanted us to be in that more opportunity for education, being very much focused. So we ended up growing up in the Princeton Junction area.
Okay.
So that's central. So I kind of got lucky not getting an accent either way.
Yeah.
But Colorado, thanks to my parents giving us exposure, was always in my heart as a child because we had good friends from my father's military in Colorado Springs, of course.
Of course.
And so we would visit and we would travel around the country, and it was Gunnison. And there were deer, and I was an athlete, so I was always running early morning. And that energy in the mountains,
it's the best.
You leave the shopping malls and the bowling alleys of Jersey.
Yeah.
And it will stay with you forever. And so I always knew I wanted to go to school here. I wanted to live here. So that seed was planted just from being exposed as a child.
Now, you've said a bunch of stuff, and the things that I want to kind of hone in on is your older brother, nature, and sports. So your childhood in Jersey, you're playing what sports, doing what activities?
So I was a 3-sport varsity athlete all through high school. I played lacrosse, basketball, and soccer.
Oh, nice.
I felt bad because my dad was a very good baseball player, and I felt like I was letting him down when I was like, I actually want to have a lacrosse stick instead.
Okay.
And I played lacrosse in college.
Yep.
I went to the College of New Jersey, and that was work ethic, big time. I think, as you know, as an athlete, you just go that extra distance. And I had some phenomenal coaches where the awards they would give us are like T-shirts that say 100%, meaning the heart and the effort.
Yes.
And I was one of those athletes who wasn't naturally gifted, but I was such a hard worker, and the coaches always felt that.
Yes.
So I got the hustle award all the time, and I was a captain with all my teams, and I just love getting dirty. So I love those days when it was downpour rain. I mean, I know you know this, when you're in the elements, you feel more alive.
That's true. 100%.
And you're building a resilience.
Yes.
And so I built that pretty early on.
Wow. Okay. That's great. What a snapshot. But also really important to you, you've referenced it so many times, is nature. So those are traditional sports. Those are field sports.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about, but also you love nature.
It always got me in the elements, because when you're growing up in a suburban Jersey, unless you're a skier, and our basketball coach forbade any snowboarding because kids would come back and
totally
injured.
Broken.
I think it was truly why Colorado was calling me, is because I always was, I used to think, well, if I had grown up in Hawaii, which is where my mom's from, 5 generations now, I'm 5th generation Korean American.
Wow.
They were the first immigrants to Hawaii, and there's a lot of history there, like my grandfather. I probably would have been a surfer, maybe.
Okay, sure.
or big swimmer,
Right.
triathlete, Ironman,
Something like that.
something like that. It's what your environment allowed.
That's right.
So I would see the ultras and I would see the adventure racing on television.
Okay.
And I was like, ooh, the tingling.
Yeah, the tingling. So, all right. So then you said you went to also in college in New Jersey. And so you're all sort of, you're there. You're East Coast, you're Mid-Atlantic or North Atlantic.
Absolutely. I felt like Colorado was always calling me, and it was later in life, life happens. And
Yes.
then my heart just pulled me to Boulder. Fast forward, I was back studying neuromuscular therapy in 2010. And then that's when I met my soulmate, my African angel, Sentwali. And that's when everything, talk about constellations aligning into where I am today.
Okay. So you're in school, what was your area of study?
Undergrad is special education.
Special education. That's awesome.
Yeah. I was one of those students that are like, we can get them on the rock walls and teach them how to connect with their bodies and build confidence. So obviously a lot of people have created that kind of scenario for special needs students.
Right.
So that was one of my dreams.
That was your dreams.
Yeah.
And then you said undergrad there, you left, you went to school, more school.
Yeah. So I took a break from school.
Uh-huh.
And
what were you doing?
not the best of relationships. I'll take a pause for those 7 years, but it did bring me to Colorado. So I was always an entrepreneur.
Okay.
Which is another skill.
It is.
That you build early on. So believe it or not, I actually had a residential painting company.
Okay.
And I was really good at cold calling and marketing. And
Nice.
Those skills are very helpful when you're trying to sell health.
And they're not easy. They're not easy.
So, yes. But I think my time, even when you're fundraising, when you're back in high school, we're going through the stands of the people at the back. So you learn those skills pretty early on.
Okay, good for you. Yes. Okay, so you had a detour, but then you're if you want, we stay with 2010. So you meet Sentwali. Did I say his name right?
It was love. I call it at second ply. What does that mean?
I don't know.
We're talking about toilet paper, people. I love this story, and I'm glad you're asking it because it's one of my favorite stories.
Good.
So it was on October 10th, 2010.
October 10th, 2010.
And
10.
my chocolate lab, Burton, my best friend, so you can hear I did some snowboarding back in the day.
Yeah.
He told me to go back into the store because I forgot something, and it was toilet paper.
Naturally.
And I was like, oh, I'm literally talking to my dog. We're going to go to the park because I got to get acupuncture for my neck because I kinked it again from all the running.
Yeah.
So I was a big runner back then, trail runner. And that's when I met Sentwali. And we were like two colliding stars going for aisle 8. And he gave me the nod. And I'm like, a talker. So I said something. He would tell you he wouldn't have said a word to me that day.
He was like this.
He's very quiet.
Okay.
He's very observant. And I said, I almost forgot to buy the essentials, giggle, giggle. And he's like, I almost forgot to buy the essentials too. And I looked in his basket. We had the same toilet paper.
Okay.
Love it, second ply.
Charmin? What kind was it? What store were you at?
Probably the very recycled, not soft
of course.
And I'm a big supporter of local artists.
Yeah.
And I was putting together an event, and I learned that he was a student in the same building. So he was studying Chinese medicine before me.
Okay.
And it's called CSTCM, and Denver, it's got old homes that turn into schools. I was in the basement studying neuromuscular therapy. He was studying Chinese medicine. And sure enough, that end of the week, he wanted a sign that I was the one because he was celibate. He was studying Aikido, martial arts. He was studying Chinese. He was like on this very sage-like path.
Understood.
And I gave him my information. He's like, so he's texting me all week. I love the mountains. My body is a temple, And I'm like, I'm your girl. You're my soulmate. And that Friday runs around. I'm running 15 minutes late. It's a Hawaiian thing, I think.
Totally.
And he was just about to jump on his bike. And there we were. Because his question, his prayer, his sign was, let me see this person at school by the end of the week. Because we met earlier in the week and he didn't want to go by his old, because it wasn't the right choices in the past. And he was like very focused. And sure enough, on the steps of school. And then we got married months later.
What the?
And he said, come study Chinese medicine with me. And I'm like, that's so much work in school. And I'm so grateful.
Wow. Okay. That's all in Denver.
Yes. But just bringing in peppering in Boulder as a runner, I was always like Burton's ashes are on the Mesa Trail. No so I was always, even when I met Sentwali, I wanted to live in Boulder.
Okay.
That was like the mecca for me.
And we're Boulder County. Our podcast covers the area. We talk Golden. We love Denver. We're all, we have sort of our place of, of whatever. We have our interaction now with the county, but your story begins there and you're in Colorado. Can you tell us, cause this is always fun for me, and then we'll kind of, maybe they weave together, but what, as a runner and your first kind of vision of Boulder and then your experience, what were they? And was it just like, hey, running, I should go to Boulder, or pictures or a visit? How did that work?
It just pulls you.
It does.
When you're in the running community. So I used to run the Gore-Tex Trans Rockies. It's a 6-day, stage race. It's like a big camp for kids who like to run.
Yeah. And you run with someone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you're always trying to get to the high country, but there's off seasons, and Boulder is just close to Denver. And those were the athletes that I was running with.
Gotcha.
And so here was I want to be like, you may know Adam Chase. He's a well-known runner. Sure. He was in those races. And that was actually, it's funny, I ran a Steamboat Marathon and they had an article about the Gore-Tex Trans Rockies. And when something's like straight onto the heart, I was like, that's what I'm doing next.
That's so good.
And so, I used to run for art. I would I raised money for the Boulder Fringe Festival, which I don't think is happening anymore.
Okay.
But it was just the beginning stages of building love for the trails out here.
That's awesome. Yeah, Adam, he's another one I always kind of call. He's a guy that we should have on the show. He'd have some good stories to tell. All over the board there. Probably ask him but nonetheless. So I always like to see when stuff comes in like that, if we maybe include them in the show. So you sort of were saying you're drawn here, you're living in Denver, you're spending your weekends in the mountains running, stuff like that, or are you just kind of focused on school? Tell me more about that.
It's always a balance, but I was wanting one day to find a way to fuse my love of the mountains with what I do.
Sure.
And I was still finding those roots of who I am at that time.
Gotcha.
So when Sentwali and I met, he and I actually had this love to travel.
Okay.
And so we transferred to a school. So he started at CSTCM and he's like, okay, come be with me in this medicine. So we went to SWAC, which is in Santa Fe.
Okay.
Awesome community.
Great.
Courts everywhere.
Sure.
People that we met are still close friends of ours today.
That's great.
We then find I'm doing my deeper searching. Like if you remember when we had our question, I'm like, where were your parents physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally at your conception? And what was the first classroom, which is in utero?
Yes.
How is that affecting you in development? So those deeper esoteric, looking at the spiritual piece, I was like, Sentwali, I don't know why I have to go to Hawaii. I feel like I should have been raised there, but I didn't. My dad was military. So can we go now? And there was an awesome school out there. So we went to World Medicine Institute, and that's where we continued our studies.
Wow. Good.
And that was very hard because Sentwali was embraced by the Hawaiians. I mean, he kind of looks like King Kamehameha.
A little bit.
Which is a very significant person in their history. Yeah. And yet there was a deeper uncovering of my Asian Korean ancestry. And there was a lot of racism, believe it or not, with my family towards Sentwali. And that was hard because that's why I was going to Hawaii. But then there was a deeper searching of why there was this lineage of self-hate. And I know that's a bigger topic and that might not be today, but it's something that was a catalyst for me to do my deeper healing. So I got more into martial arts. I got more into just understanding the deeper work of what it means to undo ancestral forms of trauma.
Right.
And it here I am. I'm healthier and lighter because of all the work.
Well, of course, yeah, all that stuff that you didn't expect to go there for, but they were massive parts of your journey. I mean, you went there maybe expecting the opposite.
I was hoping, and yet when we dig,
Yeah.
Pandora's box is open.
You don't know what you're going to find. That's the nature of digging.
It's beautiful, though, because when you're searching for truth, as uncomfortable it may be, and that's why I think some people feel sometimes nervous when they see me, because I'm unearthing, like an archaeologist. I'm pulling out the history, because everything physical has a spiritual, emotional counterpart, and your body, like the earth, has history. The beauty that I've learned through this practice and through the process of supporting my own healing and helping others facilitate that same journey is you're always supported.
Right.
Like there is trauma, and then we have those mechanisms to survive. So we compartmentalize them. But then there's always spaces as you're on that search of healing, because that's, I think, innately in all of us to want to experience flow and renewal, is when you say yes, the resources and support are there. It's just always uncomfortable, though.
Yes.
So you get to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
There you go. Well, I think, yes. And so, I mean, we probably could have a 17-hour conversation, but we shouldn't, because we should stay focused, because there's so many areas you could go into. But since we're here, share with us a little bit about the work you do, because that let's just a little bit, if we could just dive, or a lot, but let's dive in. Help us understand some of what you're talking about right now.
Well, my spectrum of supporting people comes from, number one, I have a very deep interview initially, because I've learned over time to heal requires lifestyle changes, and that's a commitment that's also for that person that you're working and supporting. So that's number one. Number two, because the body is holistic in the sense of everything is connected, internal and external environment, if they have a partner, there's even a higher value.
Okay.
And you know that with your sweetness, that you want to be going in the same direction of commitment.
Right.
Once that's established, what's amazing is, because I just degunk the system, I'm helping to chisel away at petrified stress. What does that mean? It means when we have stress, it can harden, it can calcify. So a lot of people talk about the microbiome, but really all of your tissue is the microbiome.
Okay.
It's all of the soil that supports, let's say if your organs are the garden, meaning the flowers, the fruit, even your eyes, these sensory organs. The key is a healthy environment.
Right.
So when I start to, with the therapy, we call it NHMTR, because people like acronyms.
And that stands for?
Neuro, Hydro, Molecular Tissue Repair.
Right.
Neuro is nervous system. It innervates everything.
Right.
Hydro, I'm not throwing you in a water tank. It's literally you breathing while you're receiving the therapy. As I'm using this detailed, non-invasive, gentle technique, as you felt, it's very quieting. You go straight to parasympathetic, very calming to the nervous system. So I don't use needles, but this evolved with Sentwali and I together in school, and it's continuing to evolve the technique. What happens is your system finally feels super safe.
Okay.
Because everything quiets. You know, there's this quiet, lucid state you may even enter, but what happens is the system's pathways, like waterways, start to open. And because of Chinese medicine having such an ancient knowledge of the earth, and we are an extension of the earth, it's very scientifically poetic how I support the communication between the whole system.
Yes.
And that frees up the resources, and the body has the wisdom to say, okay, now I have free resources. I'm going to start dissolving this fibroid that's in a person's uterus, or I'm going to start to begin the process of helping a person have more clarity. So all those unhealthy habits that people have, which are really like concrete pathways because of habits, they start to dissolve, and the parts of themselves that have that truth connected to who they are starts to animate. And I think that's why Catherine was like, this is life-changing.
Yeah.
Because you actually have the wisdom and intuition within yourself on how to live. I'm just freeing that up. And all of a sudden, people just start discerning better of what they put in their body, of the environments and things they do. So that's why it's so helpful. It can work for somebody with ADHD, somebody who has autistic tendencies, somebody who has cancer.
Okay.
Right? So the spectrum of how our body has congestion and what that unique story to them is how it's being expressed. So as you experience when you first come to the clinic, I start to begin to educate those principles. Yes. And then that awareness, there's no more demonizing anything. It's just like, well, if I'm having the coffee, which has caffeine, and it's like a bank account forcing energy with adrenaline, and the kidneys are there because the adrenals sit on the kidneys, that's going to have a long-term effect if I don't regulate myself or go through cleaner, pure forms of energy like breathing, sun, hydration, all the things that our body, if it's gunked up, doesn't receive and absorb as well. Okay. So I'm just tilling your soil. Okay. And your system then is more open. So then when you make those healthier choices, it's amplified. It's phenomenal. I can say this, it is reversing the aging process.
Right. We talked about that the first time we chatted. And so I think what's cool now is you've given just enough information to really inform, but also pique the curiosity. Because so when you're saying you don't use needles, but really I've experienced it, and it was also very relaxing by sort of a byproduct. I don't know if it's, or maybe it's that product, but what else can people expect in a treatment like this? Like, what's the story?
Wonderful question. Imagine a river, and you have a trauma or old memory. As I'm clearing the system, you may be in a lucid state where you actually can witness that on the table or later. Okay. And what I try to prepare people to understand is now you are giving permission for that actual old trauma to leave and process out of the system. Okay. So that may be a little scary for people, but when they're aware that's what's happening. Okay. And because, again, we talk about your commitment to your health, we begin to offer health homework like building and meditation and breath work and mindful practices. I brought the circadian clock. Yeah. I'll bring it out right now.
Yeah, grab it. Yeah, that's neat.
Okay, so I'm going to pass it to you. The circadian clock, people have heard of it. It's kind of a buzzword like microbiome or all these different things that are out there in the airways, is a way of understanding our body has 2-hour windows where each organ is super supported. Okay. Meaning your organs are working all the time, but those 2 hours, and of course it's where you live, are prime, I call it center stage, where the most energy and fluids are happening for those organs. So what time are we in right now, Michael?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we are approaching, we're kind of going from heart to small intestine.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And what a perfect time for you to be doing a podcast from the heart. You call it love.
Yes, absolutely.
And knowing the circadian clock, like your name, gives you tools. Yeah. For example, if you find you have patterns of waking up at night, the infamous time is between 1 and 3 in the morning, which is go to 1 to 3 in the morning.
Liver.
What is that?
Detox, blood and lung.
It gives you information. Okay. Right? It gives you insight into an organ system that may need support that is challenged. And so I love teaching a principle like this because you become observant of yourself. And even Rocco, if you can follow Rocco's patterns, that'd be a whole nother level, the puppy. But the point is, when your system is healthy, let's picture health, you flow through these times with ease. You have deep restorative sleep when you're supposed to, when the body begins that regulation process of hormones. You're not waking up. Yeah. You have really strong digestion. I even tell people, why don't we schedule your bowel movement? Because bowel movements are very, very much an indication of healthy system of letting go. So knowing that, what time can you see the 3 to 5, 5 to 7?
Yeah, 5 to 7 is the large intestine time. Wake up, release bowels.
I literally have people send me poopy emojis because they don't believe me when I say, if you have 3 meals in one day, you can have 3 healthy bowel movements. The point is, you start to realize you have a strategy. And as an athlete, this would have been really helpful for you in your training. Because when it's coming to health, we can have strategies too. And it's literally just like we have seasons, we have the circadian clock, and it gives us insight. So the opposite is true if you have sleep or you have anxiety or you're feeling whatever imbalance, you can literally go to the clock, and that's helpful information.
That's so cool. This is something people should see. And real quick, where you have the 6 elements, right? Or is it 5, 6? Fire, water.
Yeah, 5 elements.
Okay, yeah. So they repeat. That's what I'm not very good at reading, but fire, water, wood, metal, and earth. A little bit about that.
One of the best parts of, again, the medicine is it's all based on nature. So think about the season we're about to enter into. So we're coming from summer, moving to Indian harvest. So there's a bunch of wonderful harvests coming. And then we have fall. Could you imagine the trees, the ones that let go of leaves? They're like, I'm not letting go this year.
Yeah. Wow.
Think about how there's personality and there's actual wisdom in the seasons.
Okay.
Even though we have a lot of gung-ho skiers and mountain bikers and all the different seasons have times of peak.
That's right.
The earth is also supposed to rest.
Yes.
So winter and fall are those opportunities. The trails get some break from all of the tires and the hiking, right?
That's right.
Our bodies also are meant to follow those rhythms. And so it's not to say you can't snowboard or ski. It's just to say when you start learning the bigger picture of your personal history and the imbalances of the organs, we can follow these elements and understand them. No, I'm going to go ahead and build a deeper meditation practice during the time it's most supported. Just like I have clients right now, they're letting go of vaping.
Okay.
Nicotine. And I said, we're moving into large intestine and lung time in the fall. What a prime time, because those organs, just like the clock, those organs during those months are most supported.
Okay.
It's really cool.
It's super cool. It's that we talked about this when I saw you, and it was so fascinating. Never heard anything like that. So just a quick, and it's tied in because again, it's medicine, martial arts, and mountain biking, right? So this is something you and I were talking beforehand. Tell us all a little bit about some of the mountain biking you do.
I'm one of those people that like 6, 7, 8 foot drops in rock gardens for miles. It didn't start that way.
Okay.
So as a runner, I was endurance.
Yeah.
I went in cross country, which feels like a natural endurance.
Yes.
I went a little pro. That was fun.
Okay.
And then I thought, I really like the downhill. And I don't want to be timed on the uphill.
So we're talking about you ran, but you started doing cross country mountain biking. That was your intro, and you went, and then you're like, no, now I'm kind of moving. You were a pro at cross country.
Yep, very small season, enough to know that I knew too much about the body and my vitality and essence, that to the level of the performance and the time those athletes, I wanted to maintain my vital energy. And one of the simplest ways is to just keep improving my skills and get really good at downhill where you're not timed on the uphill.
And then you did, okay. And so you have a nice wide range of experience. And now your passion is...
I call them little ducklings.
Okay.
We put cones at Valmont Bike Park in the little grassy area, and we teach body bike separation. And my husband, who is super patient, like when I was doing the cross country racing, we would be in Texas at the time, actually, before Colorado. There was this section that was super technical. He's like, we're not going home and eating dinner till you get this section. So he knew how to motivate me.
Right.
He is my number one coach and my best friend.
Yes, awesome.
And everything I know is because of his love is supporting me to blossom into my gifts.
So cool.
It's amazing to have partners like that.
It really is. Truly brings the best out of you.
And so we realized, okay, there's so much love here. His background is martial arts. And he kept telling me, Soha, Aikido. I was like, Aikido, okay. It's at the same time I want to be riding on my bike all the time. And he's like, no, promise you, this is going to really support your mountain biking. Okay. It's your foundation. It's your spiritual internal work. It's how to feel centered and balanced.
Yes.
Which as a racer,
that's huge.
to be finding a zone of zen and flow, that means less accidents, right? That means you're actually slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Right.
So Aikido is how we have bridged that world so I don't blow out still, because you can do that with mountain biking. And Aikido is very rooted in, again, harmony. And it's so funny. It's not about competition. So it's like always asking myself, what am I doing and why? So when we created the foundation, it was to use the mountain bike as a vehicle to inspire health.
Yes.
And so our free mountain bike clinics once a month, we do rides when we can fit it into the schedule. It's all designed to awaken people that even when we teach mountain biking, I was working with a bike park group with Comba, which is another nonprofit that builds trails all in the Front Range. And then we work with BMA here local for Boulder. She's like, Soha, can you coach the coaches on how to coach? Because I use an approach that is rooted in flow.
Right.
And teaching from that space. And so even this Sunday, we'll be doing more in the future. So I don't know when this is going to be aired, but we are teaching people how to train to fall.
That's so cool. That's under, no one understands it, and it's under kind of represented, and we all do it.
Well, the idea was first because Sentwali kept saying we need to keep encouraging the martial arts piece. So he's always seen how the center, your hara, will keep you balanced and rooted like a tree.
Okay.
And then everything else above is very calm and relaxed. And that's how the bike can float under you. And it's true.
Right.
Like I did my level 2 certification for coaching, and I had to learn a bunny hop in 2 days and then be tested on its competency. And it was Aikido. I was like, oh, I do the manual and then I redirect the energy through my center and then bring the bike and bring the rear tire up. It was
That's cool.
And so people get hurt walking the sidewalk.
Right.
And yet if you train in something, you're prepared and then you actually fall less because you're relaxed.
Right.
And if you do fall, you don't get hurt. It's the same idea with self-defense. Let's say you were accosted. This is actually a true story. One of my clients, yoga training, it was not a good scenario. There was some alcohol involved, but she was accosted. And then the rest of her life, she's like, I'm going to learn self-defense. And she was always waiting for somebody to attack her. And why did it never happen, Michael? Because she was trained.
Yeah.
She was prepared.
She was ready, yeah.
So that's what I try to help people to understand is you want to train for the falling. You want to train for the challenge. So then when the challenge comes, you're calm and prepared.
Yeah, that's spot on. Oh, that's really good. You're you keep referencing, or you have referenced Aikido, and we talked about this a minute ago. It's one of those things that a lot of people have heard the name. Okay. They've heard the word. Yeah. But just a quick dive into what that is.
I'm so glad you asked.
Got a book.
I'm a student forever and ever, as you are.
Yeah.
And Aikido is the study of wisdom.
Okay.
Here's the quote. If you cannot control and trust yourself, if you cannot see yourself clearly, you will never have any knowledge or trust of others, and you certainly will not be able to control them. The purpose of Aikido training is not to create aggressive fighters, but to refine wisdom and self-control. As a student of Aikido, you must study to improve and polish yourself, not to compete with others. There's more, but that's
really that's a mic drop. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's so, and this is what you guys are weaving into everything you're doing. I mean, that's the 3 M's, right? But we're talking about that's the martial arts component.
When you have this emphasis in the internal art, the martial is valuable, but so is the art.
That's right.
And so there are a lot of martial arts. Okay. I actually love Easton, Muay Thai. I was thinking of that as one of my constellation stars. And yet I pivoted to Aikido since I am racing. I wanted to root myself in this non-competitive concept.
Okay.
The paradox.
The
opposites.
I know.
And yet here's what's so amazing to me is we have to, if we choose to be a hermit, great, you'll interact with the mountains more, but we interact with people all the time.
We do.
And how do we maintain our peace and our calm and our center, but to know ourselves and then to have a larger understanding of others is compassion. Mm-hmm. So when a person is angry, let's say you're on your bike and there's a person ready to run you over. That happened a lot in Texas.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it just people weren't cyclists. People weren't aware.
Right.
You could absorb their anger and aggression, or you could redirect it.
Right.
And so Aikido is constantly helping you train that.
Okay.
And it's all about peace and harmony.
Right.
And Sentwali truly believes that it will heal the planet if more people practice
could do it. Oh, it sounds it. I mean, that's what we need.
Come to our falling class this Sunday at the dojo.
For sure.
Boulder Aikikai. Right. And they've been with, I would be dropping as a possible interview in the future for them. They've been with Boulder for over 45 years.
That's cool. Yeah, I'd like to know more about that. It's something that has in my life and as many things I've been exposed to, almost nothing in the area of martial arts or nothing, definitely no Aikido, nothing like that. And it's for me, I'm at this stage where I'd love to share it with people on the podcast, but also my kids, stuff that we see.
Exactly.
Get it started there.
What a great foundation for them.
It is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, just to talk as an athlete to an athlete, there's sometimes this disconnect about self-esteem and self-worth.
Right.
So sometimes you can go after the gold, go after the accolades and winning, and you never build that internal knowing of your value and who you are, whether you win or not. And so to blend any athletic endeavor with an art like Aikido would allow you to really ebb and flow through that competitive life of sports that feel a little imbalanced sometimes.
A little imbalanced. Oh, for sure. I think a little imbalanced. I know we get exposed to people that are very far out of balance. And whole nother topic. Let's go a little bit more into you live in North Boulder. You guys have been here now. This is your home. This is your jam. And some of the stuff we've connected on before is the trails, the mountain biking, and Black Hawk. And I want to talk about some of this. So
sure.
So share with me, if you would, just kind of like you've got a day off. Maybe it's just after work or before work. What's just some of your favorite things to do along this little stretch of Front Range where you live?
Always early morning.
Okay.
So we've prepared a homemade peach cobbler.
Okay.
4:30 wake up.
4:30 wake up.
That's normal for Boulder people.
Peach cobbler at 4:30? I know. I don't miss a beat. I'm like, perfect.
No, we prepared it to put it in our backpacks to go do a sunrise ride at Left Hand Canyon.
What? When did you make it?
It's the
yesterday?
best time. It's fresh.
Okay.
So we may even assemble it. My husband is a phenomenal chef, and he's a healthy chef, and you can have this recipe. But we will do a food truck one day and be at all the trailheads,
yes, please.
Hopefully.
Yes, please.
The reality is food always tastes better in nature. So early wake up, he assembles the cobbler fresh. We're driving up to Left Hand at the trailhead, and we begin the climb, and the sun is just rising.
Love that.
And then we'll take you there. There's a sweet spot because if it gets windy, it can get windy. It's totally protected by the rocks, and we just hang.
You just jump off the bike.
We're my feet are out of my bike shoes. I'm getting sun. We're eating cobbler. Maybe I'll send a few emails if I feel like it. I'm like, this is my office.
Okay.
But really, it's just quality time with my honey and nature.
That's great.
And then we flow down.
Yeah.
And he begins his day. I begin my day. We end up having incredible supporting people in all the forms that we do.
Yes.
And then we jump on our bikes and go to Aikido.
Okay.
And that is literally a picture. And I told Sentwali as we were coming through the garden, because we ride our bikes everywhere in Boulder, we have the perfect life. Like, we've put a lot of work. As everyone knows, everything requires work, and it's joy work for us.
That's so cool. And so you ride over, how far is that ride for you guys?
Super quick because of the pathways.
Yes.
It's 30th, and it's in a shopping center between Pearl and I guess whatever that intersection is.
Yeah, that's good. Oh man, Walnut. Yeah, right.
It would be more on the. We'll get the exact address of Boulder Aikikai.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can search for it online. And we take in the sunflowers of the garden that we go through. We say hi to people on our bikes. We're like high-fiving energetically people who are commuting on their bikes.
Yes,
like, it's just such a beautiful way to connect with communities on our bikes.
It really is. What a great. Okay, so and the left-hand trails, because these were, and I think we talked about this way back when I would ride my road bike up left-hand. Those left-hand trails were really. It was an informal shooting range.
We still see shells on the trail.
So you see shells out there, and I've actually never been on those trails. Tell us and the people that haven't, what's it like in there?
It's rough, rugged, and raw.
Rugged, and raw. So sign up. Okay. What do you mean?
It's not necessarily maintained by, let's say, BMA.
Okay.
And so from that perspective, you have to know somebody safely, I believe, to ride those trails.
Okay.
Because it prepares me for downhill racing because it's very, very loose when it's dry. The best time is after a rain.
Okay.
And it's super steep and super hard.
Okay. Steep ups and steep downs?
Yep. And the switchbacks require super low because they're so pin hair, and it's all loose.
Okay.
And so we fat bike this last winter. We got into Brainerd Lake.
Oh, how fun.
I'll tell you about Blackhawk a little bit.
Yeah,
we literally, Sentwali and I love enduro downhill racing type trails. So more difficult. He loves jump lines and flow. I do too, but I also like the rocks. So fat biking became, okay, we can't fight winter. We want to be on two wheels. So Blackhawk, which is Take Canyon.
Yep.
It's called Maryland Mountain Hidden Treasure Trailhead, and BMA, the local nonprofit that we support,
Boulder Mountain Bike Alliance. Yep.
They do amazing advocacy work, worked with Comba and then the city of Blackhawk and some other organizations like Team Evergreen. And they have and continue, and we do a lot of volunteer work for them. Phenomenal trails, multi-use.
Okay.
But then there's one directional, which to me feels safer.
Way safer.
On the downhill.
You don't know what's coming your way.
I mean, you already got rocks and squirrels.
Yeah, you don't need to worry about another cyclist.
Or the hikers, right? We want people to be symbiotic and community is everybody feels taken care of. And that trail system allows that. So we'll take you out there.
Okay, so this is just my own point of reference, a little bit of a dorky question. So if you're coming off, and I need to get a handle, you're coming off Batasso, right? And let's just tell me, you're coming off Batasso to Canyon on the link, right, on the pipeline.
Yeah.
That sort of, and you know which section I mean, right?
Of course. Yes.
That we're on the level of what you love and what you're talking about right now compared to that downhill, steep downhill kind of droppy thing.
Oh.
Where's the scale? If that's like a scale of 1 to 10.
Is you're deciding if you want to do these trails?
I just want to picture it in my head before I'm going to go, but I want to figure it out. And what are we talking about here?
Us racers, I do enduro racing, and they opened up this specific money. It's called hard money, so it's hard. It's become a true black diamond. This is at Blackhawk, for example.
Okay.
It's exposed rocks now, so you never get a break unless you're in the air jumping.
Okay.
So it's funny. I have never ridden that section.
Oh, you haven't ridden it. You got to do it.
I haven't done Super Passo. I usually just go to the trailhead because we're teaching. Those are easy trails for me.
Yeah, totally. 100%. So, you should do it because if nothing else, I really like it.
Yeah.
And I went on it Sunday on my way to the ride for Magnus. I did a nice long few hours out there.
Nice.
But coming down it for people that are like a little bit more, it's a little bit more tame. But right now there's a lot of washout and there's some steep drops.
Yeah.
And there was one point when I was like, before the steep part, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm on my front wheel here I'm like, thank goodness I'm not flipping over.
I love that kind of riding.
Yeah.
We started with Kelsey Wazinski with BMA.
Okay.
She's on the board.
Okay.
I love BMA. They've helped me get all my certifications. I do volunteer work with their mountain bike clinics here at Valmont Bike Park.
Yes.
All these amazing guide rides.
Okay.
She's like, Soha, I've always wanted to do a women's race team.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's do it. So we did it with their help, of course. And we are doing the DH, which is a very famous trail at Trestle. So this is a women's downhill race team originated in Boulder. It's the first one in Colorado, honestly.
What's it called?
Flow Riders.
Flow Riders. That's amazing.
Hawaii flowers on our jerseys. And 24 women. We have like the full send team where we're coaching them a lot. And then we have the ones that are more competent with racing, but it's a mentorship program.
Gotcha.
And we're taking them that's why we created this How to Fall Safely, because they're going to fall and we don't want any breaks.
There you go.
But the type of the DH trail is it's all loose. And you've got huge trunks of trees and boulders the size of your house. Like, it's no joke. It's a famous trail. And our women are building the confidence to do that trail.
Very cool. That's so cool. Yeah, that's I love that you guys do that. That's neat. And we talk about those trails. All right, so when let's just a little bit more of the stuff that I make everyone answer, or I don't make them, but we love to talk about. So when you if you were kind of just flashing back in time to when you first got here and you're just, or as a resident, like you're living here, what were some of your impressions and have they changed? I mean, is Boulder, you just said you love where you live, worked hard to be there. Tell me more. Is it still the same? Is this your spot? Do you love it?
Well, we got to go to COVID because I think there was a big shift.
Okay.
And it's not to get controversial, but there was a lot of fear. And everyone around the country and the world felt it.
Sure.
So we moved to Boulder during COVID. Okay. So that would be a harder way
that's
of...
a hard, Okay.
When I used to be a part of Boulder, running the Mesa Trails when I lived in Wash Park in Denver for years. And it was just different.
That's right.
So my first experience with Boulder was before COVID.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Like there was no... It was like everything goes energetically. People are open and growing, and you felt the entrepreneurship of these health companies. And I was like, okay, that's fertile soil for future. COVID happened, and there was a constriction. But this is where deep healing can happen.
There you go.
And everything's an opportunity.
Sure.
And that's what's so interesting is that's when we moved to Boulder to officially live here. And we were a huge support of like people healing from the fear.
Right. Good for you.
Clinically, so we established very quickly, and word of mouth is a powerful form of advertising. And we got supported with the Shine Sisters and helping them and plugging into the community, and everything just, here we are.
That's so good. Yes, the Shine Sisters. There's another...
These are people that I've met.
Dynamic trio.
With.
Yeah.
And so my impression of Boulder is there's still a lot of healing to happen.
Okay.
Energetically, we have always an opportunity because Boulder is famous. We met an environmentalist. Of course, riding our fat bikes in the middle of winter is one of the coldest days. We're at REI. We're like, everybody just get on your bikes. It'll be cold, but it'll be fun. So he saw us on our bikes and he's like, Soha, people all around the world look to Boulder.
Right.
As all of this like need to pay attention more to what we're impacting with ourselves and the environment. And he's like, I kind of feel bad because I'm traveling all over the world and I need to do this local at home.
Okay.
And so we really, really want to build more of that continuity and be an example of what it means to have more of a bike culture, not just to train, but to ride to Trader Joe's or to natural grocers or to your friend's house, and maybe build incentives with the local businesses and have ways of tracking. Like we have so many ways of tracking. So people will be incentivized. If that's something that needs to happen, we'll help create that. I
think that's huge. I think that people do need that tracking and the reward, to be honest, other than the actual reward that comes, which you're healthier, you're saving, the planet, you're doing all this amazing stuff, but there should be another reward that people get, a reward, I should say.
It's valuable. Like there was a day we were riding and we were just feeling the extremes in the climate, and we're like at Trader Joe's getting some lemons, and there were so many people in the parking lot, and I just wanted to be outside and just ask, do you live within 10 miles of the store?
Right,
just to get a survey of how many people could truly drive and ride. Why drive? Why drive when you can ride? Kind of scenario. And I just wanted to pinprick people's thoughts around that.
Yeah, it's worth doing. I mean, I think I mentioned this to you as well, that I, having gone through many phases of my life, and then currently I'm in one where I live outside of town and I don't ride nearly enough for non-exercise, like for my commuting. And we have the ability, we need to, and it is, we're a little further, but it just means more fun. And when we do it, we always, all of us, we love it.
Well, it heals us too, to be in the environment.
Well, there's something different about riding a bike. And I love to run. I love all kinds of activities of the sports you talked about, but there's something about being on a bicycle part of it, I think it takes you back to being a kid, but just the freedom, the movement, the sort of, it's not weightlessness, but that floating, it's easy on the body. It's fun. I think it's just amazing.
It is an epitome of flow, right? Because we don't have as much of that on our joints.
The jarring, yeah.
And I love the idea of how we can inspire others
Yes.
because it is super fun.
It's super fun.
And if we can make it safer for everyone, that would be amazing.
That's right. And we're talking about that. We're going to connect you with some people that are in that same space, namely Trini Willerton. You're going to love meeting her and the stuff that she does. So now as we come out, let's talk about, because your answers and throughout from start to now have been completely unique and different to anything we've had on our podcast, completely, which is fun and not surprising. So they are. It's you answer differently, and so it's really cool. I think everyone that's heard any of the other conversations will agree, and it's a positive thing. So what is, if you described your perfect day? I know the answer, but like you get two. You get the in-home answer and the out-home. What's your favorite place to go out and eat some great food that's good for you, good for your soul, good for your body and your spirit?
Can it be past Boulder County?
It can be anywhere. As long as I can go there and validate this, test it out.
Sentwali and I have many dates, and one of our dates is we will, because it is summertime, go to Trestle.
Okay.
And then have the excuse to go to City O City.
Okay, tell us about that.
Which is in Denver. It's vegan, vegetarian. They have organic. There's also Watercourse. They're kind of like a paired.
Okay.
I think there's a history there. Watercourse was one of the first vegan, vegetarian places. Actually, I think now they're completely vegan. And so we splurge there. And we always tell them, can you bring yourself to Boulder?
Can you please?
But then it'd probably be bad for us because then we would be eating out more. So we love Flower Child. They're a chain.
Yeah,
I think they're based out of Arizona, but we love their energy, and we do like to bring people to Flower Child to introduce them to health. So if a client is asking for a recommendation, I just say that's super easy because there's so many options.
It's the gateway drug to health. It's the intro.
It's awesome for that.
Make it a joke, but I agree. And that is a place that is sort of a sleeper because, I don't know. I highly recommend that as well. Cool. Those are good spots. And you had said, I know I'm leading this, but you said that obviously because your husband is
phenomenal.
So that's really where you love to eat.
That's a skill. Well, we do our best. And we're like, is this as good as what you make? And we're like, this is good. So we're always in gratitude because we love to eat, and food is our soulful way of showing love.
Okay.
I do the dishes.
Yes.
And we that's why I believe one day we will do a food truck and be at the trailhead. That
sounds so cool. Please do that. That I know we've talked a little bit. That's such a great idea. And I think it'll take off here really well.
Best place to start it.
Best place. And so going with what you said too on trails, left hand has been mentioned, and then you've got you've made some great recommendations. Anything else that you're just, maybe it's close by, or where do you love to be out in nature, riding, running, or hiking, or anything?
Well, Lyons County is gorgeous. I am grateful the fires.
Yes. So where in Lyons do you like to go?
Well, everybody's probably familiar with Antelope and Hall Ranch. So those are some of my favorite when I'm private coaching. I want to see their skills at Patasso. If they can handle some of those technical, then those challenging switchbacks going up Antelope. It's like our little slick rock place. And then there's that fun upper loop, beautiful views.
It's beautiful up there.
And great flow. So it's a very nice balance. Mm-hmm. I appreciate what BMA is doing. There's a new trail. It's brand new. I haven't done it yet. It's called North Sky.
Yes.
And so there is a little less technical on this side of town, except left hand. Like you literally go from greens and nice easy blues at Marshall and Dowdy Draw, which is great for our foundation because we take them on those trails, and that builds confidence.
And it's beautiful.
And then you got left hand, which is like just high level. Be very skilled and prepared so you don't get hurt. So that's why we tend to go outside a little bit more to Floyd Hill.
Okay.
That's where I do enduro racing, and I do a lot of private coaching for technical trails. And it's really cool. BMA's branching that because they know that there's riders who are advancing, going I-70 past Evergreen.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are places you haven't ridden.
Well, no, it's that's true.
And then Blackhawk.
And Blackhawk.
Yeah.
Do you ever go to Hile Ranch or come down Picture Rock, and is that too boring?
Oh, those are great.
They're great. Okay.
Oh yeah, we see rainbows every time we take our So those are places we take our beginner riders and they love it.
And they learn. Yeah.
And I love watching them love
So
it.
good. So good. I mean, I think realistically the conversation has covered a lot of what I had in mind I wanted to talk about.
Nice.
And so this is when naturally I would say to you, when you're sitting here thinking about, hey, we've been talking for a little while. You didn't ask me this. I'd love to share that. Is there something that comes to the front of your mind, and that no is an okay answer. I just don't want you to.
No, yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
No, because we really covered so much in a short amount of time. And more, thank you for what you do.
Oh, that's nice.
I was thinking about your efforts and how this is going to continue to develop open conversation, right? Communication is a powerful vehicle for so many efforts that us as entrepreneurs and people who are wanting to come to Boulder, who, feel intimidated by Boulder because it has some of that quality. Let's be real. It kind of has an elitist quality.
It does.
That there are people who are very much welcoming for collaboration and for the work that is so much more powerful as a whole. And so my final thoughts around applying to your podcast is, what is it? What does this say on the top?
I can't see. Yeah. Oh,
we'll work on your eyesight.
Yeah, freedom to fly. And then, is there something else? You tell me.
Heal yourself.
Oh, over there. Folks, she's trying to make me read. Heal yourself, heal the earth.
So if we just keep starting with home first.
Yes.
We could be on the picket lines, the political, all those things are possible, but maybe just start with self and your partner and your family and how to integrate more of that loving communication, heart-centered work.
Yes.
And like ponderosa pines, one of my favorite trees, or the redwood forests, let go of that resistance to time. Our paradigm with time tends to then compromise our integrity.
Right.
You see that with the racing scene, but you see that in life. And if you know and connect that you are sacred like the earth, and what is the earth always doing? It has its cycles.
Regenerating and starting.
Letting go. And you become just like the earth and evolve and adapt and let go of the attachments. The final thought that I was trying to prepare for today was, okay, there's all this ancient history of sacrifice. The virgin in the volcano. We were watching a film on Confucius, like the master passes and then they put the servants in with them in the tomb and they are all sacrificed. And I was like, what is our modern day form of sacrifice? Just think about that for a second. Is it possible we don't have to sacrifice our health to make money? Is it possible we don't have to sacrifice our attachments to things and stuff for quality connections and authentic communication? Maybe what we are meant to sacrifice every day is those old paradigms and those attachments to the lack, to the, there's not enough, so I'm going to take this. Maybe the sacrifice is our time energetically to serve others, serve ourselves first and coming from that overflow, but that's always there. And if you maybe do it from that perspective of every day, letting go and sacrificing something that maybe felt a little extra sticky because you want what you want when you want it, that energy, and bring in more patience and compassion, and the forest will be your teacher and guide, that these things take time and you actually don't lose time. You gain more because you let go of that old paradigm. Then we wouldn't have to have big sacrifices because we do it every day. So that was my final thought.
That's a great final thought. That's great. Yes, wonderful. Well said, and it's a super cool thing. I'm going to rewind and listen to that, obviously. But I like that. And so as we say goodbye, where can we find you? Because people are going to want to know a little bit more about what you're doing. You said it, but where can we find you?
Well, it's all under the umbrella of Freedom to Fly for All. So freedom, 2, fly, 4 all.org. You can reach out by email. You can even find my phone number.
Sure.
And Instagram, we're on Freedom to Fly for All. Some of those mediums. I think that's the best way. And my email is Soha at sohakushitama.com. So maybe you can put those links if you have links.
There you go. Yeah.
And through just a conversation. That's, I think, the first start of it all.
There you go. Perfect. Well said. The conversations. Then that's where we start, and that's where we've been all day today, is having a great conversation. Thank you so much. What a treat. I've been looking forward to talking to you, and it did not disappoint. It's been wonderful.
Michael, thank you for what you do. Love to your family and to everyone who's listening. As we breathe, let's continue to build more compassion with our communities. That's a perfect way to stop. And folks, with that, I'll encourage you all to go out and do something that you love. Mahalo.